Welcome to HCS Talks. I'm your host, Superintendent Raymond Haynes. If it's important to students, parents, teachers, or the community, we hope to cover it on HCS Talks. The goal is to inform, educate, and even entertain you. We launched this podcast at the beginning of the school year, and today marks our final episode for the 23-24 school year and our 43rd episode. It has been a pleasure to chat with so many wonderful guests, including our students, teachers, staff members, coaches, administrators, board members, our city manager and police chief, as well as other community partners. It is hard to believe we're wrapping up our last podcast for the year. Today's episode will be a bit different. Mrs. Kellie Goral, our Executive Director of Public Relations and Marketing, will be asking me some questions about my first year as superintendent. These questions were submitted by several of our students, administrators, and staff members. I have to admit, I'm a little bit nervous, so hopefully Mrs. Goral will go a little easy on me today.
That's right, Dr. Haynes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here to assist, and don't you worry, we have some fantastic questions lined up for you today. And as you mentioned, these questions were submitted by our administrators, staff, and students, and even a community member. So I'm ready to dive in. How about you?
I hope so. I'm a little nervous, like I said. So let's see how this goes. Depending on who you ask to ask me some questions. Feel like a little setup here, but I'm ready to roll with it.
I promise it's not a setup. And I will tell the listening audience he has not seen these questions. So this is truly going to be his answers on a first blush. And the first one is from one of our elementary students.
Here we go.
Preschooler? No, not a preschooler. I promise you, not a preschooler. But it's a great question. Hopefully you can remember back this far, because I know a year feels like probably 10 years from now. But the student's question is, what was your first school board meeting like as superintendent?
Well, that is a good question. For years, I've been in the system for 29 years, so I've watched several superintendents be on that dais and preside over school board meetings along with school board members. And they've all made it look easy. And my predecessor, Dr. Smith, who had been a superintendent for over 15 years or so, he really made it look easy. But sitting up there, it is not that easy at all. I was met with some fear and anxiety, a little nervous, and I think that comes with the territory, making certain that, having been here all my life and knowing a lot of folks, I wanted to make certain I made a good first impression during those school board meetings. So it was a little uneasy for me because I was just worried about how I may have come across and making certain that I said and did the correct things and following Robert's Rules of Order with the whole process. But I think I got through it. I know I received several favorable compliments from school board members, but I can recall it quite vividly, and I can recall how nervous I was, and I can recall how relieved I was when the board meeting was over. I'm the type of person that does not like to watch or listen to myself, so I have yet to go back and watch that first school board meeting. I know I'm my own worst critic, so in my mind, I probably think I did terribly, but the feedback that I got was pretty favorable.
Well, and I was in the audience, and I agree with the feedback. I thought you did a great job, but also for the listening audience to know, in your role as the chief of secondary schools, you were in that audience for many, many years being a division leadership team member, and you were never on camera. You always were sitting off to the side so people couldn't see you.
I avoided it at all costs.
You always avoided the camera, where I have to sit up front, but you did not. So you went from hiding out behind the cabinet
to be in front and center.
So I can understand why you might have been just a little bit unnerved, but I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you so much.
But I did have to tell on you just there for a little bit. We got to be completely honest with these podcasts.
Ma'am.
All right, second question. This one's from a staff member. As superintendent of Hampton City Schools, how many of your first year goals did you accomplish?
Well, I think the goals are always a continual work in progress. So, looking at the superintendent's priorities for the year were to ensure the division remain focused on supporting a safe and nurturing environment for all students and staff. I can never say we rest on our laurels and saying we've done everything we can to maintain a safe and nurturing environment. We're constantly looking for ways to promote and enhance our school environments and all of our learning facilities and even central office to make certain we take more proactive measures in ensuring safety. So that's what I would consider a continual work in progress, and ensuring the division remains focused on its core business of teaching and learning. I think that we have such strong systems and structures put in place that it goes without saying that we want to ensure we keep the main thing, which is our core business of teaching and learning. And our staff and administrators and staff in our schools just do a phenomenal job in making certain that they keep focused on making certain that young people learn everything they need to learn and ensuring that they master the skills and concepts, and our schools remain fully accredited without conditions. One of the other priorities was to continue to engage with internal and external stakeholders in a variety of ways to seek feedback as well as share the ongoing accomplishments and celebrations of HCS students and staff. So I think I accomplished that because I felt like I was on a world tour this year, just highlighting the good and great things about Hampton City Schools and what I bring to the table and what our priorities would be for the school division and for the community as a whole. I can't say enough about how I think we've lived that mantra of one community, one transformation, excellence with intentionality, because of the strong and collaborative working relationship we have with city officials, to include our city manager, Bunting. So it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to live it and to actually see it in action and how well we all work together, including the school board and city council members. I think that we should never take that for granted, because I heard horror stories from other localities, and I think we're very fortunate to have such a strong, collaborative working team.
Yes, sir.
Other priorities: support the implementation of the Academies of Hampton Master Plan 2.0. I think we have come a long way in ensuring we have implemented Master Plan 2.0, centered around making certain we have these signature experiences that address elementary students, middle school students, and high school students as they matriculate from elementary to middle and middle to high, and be a part of the academies and pathways in some way, shape, or form. I think that it goes without saying that we are now on one accord at the elementary, middle, and high school when we're talking about the portrait of a Hampton graduate, and recognizing that it does not start when they enter ninth grade. It starts when they enter elementary school. So we're focusing on that effort, all of our efforts and energies around the portrait of a Hampton graduate, starting at elementary school, and recognizing that we're going to keep our promise and commitment to young people to ensure they graduate college, career, and life ready. Last priority was to create and refine processes and structures that support the division's mantra of one community, one transformation, excellence with intentionality. I think that that is also a continual work in progress. We're going to do that by our actions and deeds, and making certain that our schools remain safe and nurturing, and making certain that we look at ways to improve the capital improvement structures of buildings, making certain that we maintain that priority of attracting, recruiting, and retaining exceptional staff. The board continues to prioritize salaries for teachers as a whole, and we continue to work towards that. Anytime we're looking at the budget process, that continues to remain a number one priority for us as well.
So there was a follow-up question, but I don't even feel like I really need you to go into it too much, because the follow-up from that staff member was how many of these goals affected the district as a whole. But every one of those priorities you just talked about, I mean, it affected elementary, middle, high, all staff, safety,
Yes,
the community, the city council. So I think that all your priorities pretty much touched almost every single person.
Yes, ma'am. And I just want to reemphasize the fact that I can't say we have mastered those priorities. I think it's a continual work in progress, and I know that together we will continue to make some significant strides and actually live that creed behind excellence with intentionality, because of the partnership we have with the city officials as well. So I've said this all year long: when you're talking to a city official as well as board members, they can speak about it with such specificity, you would think that they were employed with Hampton City Schools.
That is
We're all
true.
on the same page about what Hampton City Schools is all about and the accomplishments that our young people make and the wonderful staff that we have here in Hampton.
I agree. I agree. That's why I'm here. All right. Next one is from another staff member. This one's a little bit more personal. And I'm not setting you up, I promise.
Yes, you are. I can see it coming.
Oftentimes, as we mature into adulthood, we recognize character traits of our elders in ourselves. What personal values do you lead with that you directly attribute to your upbringing by your parents and grandparents?
I think that you have to treat people with dignity and respect. My father started when he retired from the Air Force. He started as his first position or first place of employment. He was custodian at Captain John Smith, where I attended elementary school. And looking at how he interacted with young people as a whole and how they looked up to him, even in his role as a custodian, it let me. I learned from that. Regardless of what position that you have, everyone brings value, adds value to the organization, and you have to treat people accordingly, whether you're a custodian, an IA, teacher, principal, central office administrator, superintendent. Everyone plays a part, and it is a vital part to the organization as a whole. And my parents have always taught me to be kind to folks because you never know how it may come back to you in some way, shape, or form. I look at it from the perspective of having served as principal at all levels, but going into the hospital now and whether I'm going to visit a loved one or some instances where I've had to go and get checkups. And I've run into former students of mine, and I'm thinking, I hope I treated that student well because now this person is going to be taking care of me. But I've always been met with very positive remarks about how I treated them when they were students, and they were going to make certain they took care of me or took care of my family members or loved ones. So that goes a long way, and it's also a sense of pride in knowing that this young person started off with you at the elementary school. Now he or she is a physical therapist or a doctor or a lawyer, and they've gotten their beginnings from Hampton City Schools, and that foundation, that strong foundation, was laid for them.
Wow. That was an excellent answer. I'm like hanging on every word here. The next one actually is from one of our administrators. They would like to know, is there a song, quote, poem, or other piece of writing upon which you gain strength? And if so, from where did it originate and how does it fuel you?
There's several. I think that a strong foundation was laid for myself as well as my 5 siblings from my parents, and we all are a very close-knit family. But if you're looking at poems as a whole, for me personally, a couple of poems that come to mind is one. It's called "See It Through" by Edgar Allan Guest, and it talks about trials and tribulations and what other folks may have been through, but you have to stick to it and make certain you see the whole thing through. And the other one would be "Invictus" by William Ernest Henley. So parts of that poem sort of resonate with me in terms of my personal journey as well as professional journey as well. A song that comes to mind for me. There are several because I'm a lover of music, all types of music, whether it's R&B, country, jazz, or what have you. I love all types of music. But
you do.
There's one song by Group New Edition called "Boys to Men." I remember listening to that song because it sort of marked the transition from being a boy going into manhood and recognizing all the responsibilities that I was going to have to take on, no longer being supported by my parents. I was going to have a career and be able to provide for my own family. And at that point in my life, I think I was maybe 18 or 19 when that song came out. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I listened to that song over and over again, met with a lot of fears and anxiety because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But it sort of fueled me to the point where it sort of helped me to sort of kind of make some decisions. And it may not be what you want to do at some point in time, but you need to get started. So I got started doing something and went on to college and got my degree and still didn't know what I wanted to do. But had a lot of good and positive role models that stayed in my life, aside from my brothers and sisters and my father and uncle, were folks that I met along the way in Hampton City Schools that stayed in touch with me. So it sort of helped me to formulate and transition from being a boy and transition into manhood and recognizing the importance of making certain that I reach back and help others as well, because so much was poured into me. I believe in the whole concept of mentoring and providing succession plans and looking at young people from the perspective of tapping into potential they may not know that they have, like it was done for me. Didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't know what I was capable of doing, but folks saw some things in me I didn't necessarily see in myself. So I make it a point to do that to others and making certain that I pull people up and hopefully put them in positions where they can help others as well.
So that song, I don't know if this is true or not, but someone shared with me once that you listen to a song every day on your way to work.
Yes.
Is that the song?
It is absolutely the song I listen to.
I'm not going to tell you who told me, but somebody shared with me that there was a song.
We're getting deeper into this. It almost seems like I'm getting ready to get set up.
No, you're not. You're not. It just triggered. Like I remember having a conversation and they were making... It was a conversation trying to find out things that you like and enjoy.
Right.
And they said, there's a song. He listens to it every single day on the way to work. Like it means that much to him, but that's your song.
Yes, it is. It is. And I still am very hard on myself. There are things that I still wish I would have accomplished, looking back on some certain things. And there's still things I think that are personal goals for me. So I never rest on my laurels and say, I've done it. I'm here. That's it. Because I think we should all be of the mindset and looking for continuous improvement amongst ourselves as well.
I agree. So the next question is from one of our high school students. This student wants to know, do you feel as if working in your previous roles with HCS helped you in your role as superintendent this year?
Oh, I absolutely think it more than adequately prepared me to take on the role of superintendent. But it's nothing like sitting in the seat. There's so much that I still learn every single day that sometimes I'm met with by surprise. But the preparation and knowing the system as a whole, I think, prepared me for the daily operational procedures of Hampton City Schools, because I was very familiar with that as well. But being in the role as superintendent is a totally different position altogether.
One that I told you before I don't have any desire to have. I can't imagine the pressure and the stress.
Yes, ma'am. But I think it's a whole lot more good to it than folks might realize. I think that the folks who have come before me, and I've been fortunate to be able to work under some very strong superintendents, and they were good role models for me. So looking at them, and many of them I still talk to this day, it did make it look easy, but it comes with its challenges. You know, some of the best advice, one of the best pieces of advice that I was given is just you can only take one day at a time. Each day will bring its own new adventures and challenges. So if you look at it from that perspective, it won't overwhelm you as much, because you're just saying, okay, I'm going to get through this day. Tomorrow may bring a different set of challenges altogether, but let me get through this day, and then we'll see what tomorrow brings as well.
Well, and you made a comment earlier. You feel like you've been on a world tour.
Yes.
Because it's been something different every day, different places to go, people to see and meet and speak with. And, those are the things when you were doing the operational pieces at Chief that we weren't privy to 100%, that it was like, wow, this is really what's happening in that role. So.
Absolutely. But, and having worked at all levels, elementary, middle, and high, and even central office positions, I think helped me. I don't think nothing prepares you to be superintendent until you get in the seat. I think it helped me to navigate certain things and be able to tap into resources and things that other folks may not know. And having been here, knowing all about the academies of Hampton and anything that came up in my role as superintendent, knowing who to go to get the appropriate responses, I think has served me well. But it's nothing like being in the seat.
That seat, I hope you stay in for quite a while. Keep it warm, sir. All right, the next one is from a community member. It's a little bit long, so I'll get through it. What one focus would you like to see our community and HCS alumni advocate for that prioritize education, equity, and the needs of students and families within the community? So one focus you'd like to see the community and alum advocate for that prioritize education.
Yeah, we may have to come back to that. I think I can answer part of that, but I may think of some other things. I think that one of the biggest drivers for us nowadays is the challenge of getting folks to choose the education profession. Um, the more we can get folks to recognize the importance of being an educator and the profound impact you can make in a young person's life, the better. So when folks are coming to this area, we want our alumni and folks in the community to advocate for choosing Hampton City Schools. Choose Hampton City Schools to educate your child if you have children. Choose Hampton City Schools as your place of employment. Choose Hampton City Schools if you are in the education profession as a whole. We want our community to also be public relations specialists for us as well.
Yes, we do.
And be those strong ambassadors for what Hampton City Schools is all about. So I think that's one of the best things the community can provide to us at this point, and continue to be a champion for all things Hampton City Schools, and not just Hampton City Schools, but choose the city of Hampton to live in as well.
I like that response. All right, here comes the next one. See, they haven't been bad. All right, next one.
I'm waiting. It's coming.
No, I will say that I was highly encouraged to throw some curveballs in here that I created, but I value my job and I respect you, so we're going with what I received. And I will say that also we received more than I'm asking you, but we couldn't have an hour to a 2-hour podcast. So I tried to select the ones that didn't repeat too much, and I thought that the community and the public would really want to listen to. So, all right. So now we are back to a staff member. So looking back on your inaugural year as HCS superintendent, what's one of the most memorable experiences you've had thus far? And that's not working with me, sir. But
that is what I was going to say too, Ms. Goral.
Were you really? Well, then that could be your most memorable experience. No, I know it's not that. What would be your most memorable experience?
There were quite a few memorable experiences. I'm still trying to get over the podcast I did with the young people at Moton Preschool. It was a great experience. They totally had me thrown off of the plans that I had, but I knew it was coming. I just didn't realize how far they would throw me off of my plan that I had in terms of doing the podcast with them. It was a whole lot of fun, but they warmed my heart, but they also threw a lot of curveballs at me.
What did they say, Dr. Haynes?
It was questions that I knew were coming, and in my head I knew how I would answer them, but to be in front of them and they throw it at me, it threw me off. The questions about why I didn't have any hair, and when I would comment about who their favorite superhero was, I thought they would just stick to the Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, but no, they didn't do that. They did not do that. And then I had an audience there that day to include you and several other staff members of
your most memorable experience.
Several other members of Channel 46 who were supposed to help me, including the teacher who was supposed to help me as well, to the point where when I was looking for help, all I could see was all of you laughing with tears rolling down your faces and leaving me to my own devices.
Okay, so you have been superintendent since July 1st. It is now June. You have had a lot that has happened in your first year. Things that I know about and things I don't know about.
I think about that podcast,
and that one podcast
every single day.
Is your most memorable experience. You were traumatized. Oh my gosh! So I am part of your most memorable experience.
It was somewhat traumatic, but it was also, when I look back at it in hindsight, it was awesome. It was very fun. It was awesome, and it was actually probably my favorite one because they were going to come up and say whatever they wanted to say, regardless of how much they may have practiced and what may have been scripted for them. they did not stick to it.
Oh, there was no script for them. There was only a script for
yes.
you.
Oh, I could tell.
It was out of the mouth of babes. Now I wish I knew what episode it was. I could put a plug in to say, if you haven't listened, go back and look at episode. But you can look at the descriptions under each podcast and click on it. So we hopefully, if somebody's listening that didn't go back and get that one at first, they'll go back.
But Ms. Goral, there were a lot of good memories, a lot of great memories from my first year as superintendent. That is probably one of the more memorable times that I had, and I anticipated it, and it lived up to its hype.
Well, good. I'm glad I didn't disappoint you, sir. All right. Well, guess what? The next question's from an elementary student. But it's not about your hair, I promise. And they're not going to growl at you like they did on the podcast.
Yeah, there was some
growling.
Some growling. I didn't know superheroes growl, but I got a growl and just totally threw me for a loop. But
because she was a dragon princess.
Yeah, she was a dragon princess. She went from princess to growling at me. Did you just growl at me? Yes, I'm a dragon princess. And then to watch all of you just sit there and laugh at me.
It was the best day ever. All right, so next one's from an elementary student. This is actually a really good question. It says, HCS did a wonderful event for mental health called Mental Wealth Day. Can you share with us if there's any ongoing events, activities, and experiences to help children develop a mindset of positive self-esteem, self-acceptance, and positive self-worth? And that came from an elementary student.
Absolutely. That mental welfare, that was the second year doing this. So we have made the decision to make certain that is an annual event. I know our school social work department does a great job at hosting this event and bringing in mental health professionals from throughout the community. And there are a lot of games and activities that young people can partake in as well. It has been well received by our staff and family members and community as a whole, and it continues to grow. And it is something that we have intentionally invested funding towards to ensure that we have this on a yearly basis. We've also been intentional in our work around climate and culture, and work that Ms. Heather Peterson leads for us for the division. And we've intentionally embedded things into the curriculum around climate and culture as well. We have done a great deal of that at the elementary level. We're working to fine-tune it more so at the secondary level, particularly the high school. I think we have some very strong components at the middle school level as well, but Ms. Peterson does a great job working alongside our curriculum leaders and teacher specialists to ensure that it is intentionally embedded into our guaranteed and viable curriculum. It also speaks to, when we talk about the portrait of a Hampton graduate, it talks about a positive sense of self as one of the tenets behind the characteristics behind the portrait of a Hampton graduate. So we are intentional in making certain that we have this embedded into our curriculum and infused throughout our community in terms of resources and support, and putting on things like that mental welfare to ensure that our young people have that opportunity to have some self-awareness and build up their self-esteem, and making certain that they do have a positive sense of self and actually know what it means. What does that mean? Because when we're asking them those things on surveys, sometimes we are concerned about whether or not young people really know what it means. So if we're constantly exposing them to it and using that terminology and walking them through what it means to have a positive sense of self and purpose and building around that, I think it lends itself to them feeling as though they're being supported around that and getting the support that's needed behind it, as well as tapping into resources in the community and talking with their parents and loved ones about it as well.
Well, and if you don't mind me kind of jumping in, not that I'm trying to answer your question for you, but that's just the surface.
Yes.
Like, the division has Care Solace that's there for family and family members and staff and the family members of staff members. We work with our community services board, Trina Hatcher's department, like they're very involved. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes that is done to assist students with that they may not be aware of.
Right.
They may see those activities that are built into the curriculum and things they're doing or going to that mental wealth day.
Right.
But they don't see all that work that's also on that back end and all those community partners. That's
absolutely.
The focus.
And we have a tiered system of approach for that, just like we tier the instruction, we tier the system of support for young people as well. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the work that our school social workers and school counselors do on a regular basis with young people and their families. That
Family
even
engagement
before with
specialists.
the family engagement specialists, and looking at school psychologists as well, and even working around what restorative counselors do for us at the schools too, because it's a total wraparound approach, and I think it lends itself to this these aligned acts of improvement when we talk about the systems approach into how we do things. Folks can come in here and look at the playbook and be ready to execute it, whether you're looking at it from the instructional side of the ledger or the social, emotional learning side of the ledger as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that graduation coaches, our
Yes,
teachers, our
graduation,
administrators,
yes,
like
yes.
you said, that
And the
wraparound
teachers
approach.
are looking at it, they're embedding it in because it's already in the curriculum. They're taking these lessons and embedding it into their daily lessons as well. So you can't say enough about all the work that our teachers do on a regular basis to work with children from all aspects of their total being.
I agree. That's why I had to help you answer that question just a little bit. I
appreciate
wanted
it.
to make sure that we gave all those shout outs.
That's right.
All right. So this next question.
What a good PR person would do.
Thank you. And this next question is from a staff member, and you are not allowed to respond by saying the podcast at Moton.
Okay.
You got me? No. All right. Cannot say the podcast with the Moton students. But in all seriousness, here's the question from one of our staff members. If you could change one thing about your first year as superintendent, what would it be?
I don't think I would change anything. I think each day brings its set of challenges, and I think in the beginning, had I had that mindset to take one day at a time, I think that my anxiety levels would have been lowered, but I don't think I would have changed a thing. It came about as a result of the board having the confidence in me and selecting me as superintendent. The support I have from my very strong division leadership team. Can't say enough about the awesome teachers and administrators that we have in the division, and the warm embrace that I had in being selected as superintendent, having been homegrown here in the city of Hampton, and the amount of support that I have received. I don't think I would change a thing. I think that I'm very fortunate. I think that we have a tremendously positive, beautiful working relationship with city officials. So I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in, and there's nothing that I would change at this point.
Well, we're on a podcast, so people can't see our facial expressions, but I'm smiling big, and my heart is very happy to hear that, because we don't want you going anywhere. So I'm glad that response. All right, here's your last question. It's not a doozy, and I told you I haven't set you up.
Okay, I'm waiting.
All right, this is from a staff member, and the question is, can you tell us about some of your goals for the next school year? I know you're still trying to get through one day at a time, you just said, but taking it one day at a time, but
Actually,
do you have any goals?
I think the goals will be to continue to refine the priorities that I had this year. We're always going to make certain that our schools safe, take proactive measures to ensure safe and orderly school environments. I always want to make certain that we keep the priority of competitive salaries in the benefits package available to our staff members, because we know the challenge of attracting and recruiting exceptional staff. So we want to make certain we have competitive salaries. Our board continues to have it as a priority to make certain that we have the competitive salaries, and we did so during the budget process. In the beginning, when the governor's biennial budget first came out, there was a recommendation for, I think, a 1% or 2% raise.
It was a 1% bonus.
1%.
It wasn't even a raise.
Right.
It was a 1% bonus.
And the board's priority was to continue to make certain we went above and beyond that. So we came out of the gate with saying we were recommending a 3% raise instead of the bonus. And then looking at, once the budget was finalized, we moved that 3% to 4%. But we also put a significant amount of money towards adjusting the teacher pay scale to ensure that those salaries continue to remain competitive from year 1 all the way through year 30 as well. So that continues to be a priority for us. I can't say enough about the the benefits that we have in place, and we did so in making certain that when our employees got a raise, it was a true raise, and we took care of any increase in insurance premiums so it would be at no cost, additional cost to employees. So our employees got a true raise.
I was going to say that, and I'm jumping in because I'm your PR person here, but a typical year for insurance is about what percent does it increase? What is it, like 5 to 7%?
Yes.
And we've been taking that on so that the employees got a true raise.
Yes.
This year, it was like 21% or higher.
22% higher.
Yeah, higher.
Yes.
So everybody will still see a true raise. Like
Yes,
the
ma'am.
school division was a priority so that those health costs were not raised for our employees.
They will pay the same they paid for the insurance this year. So we absorbed that increase in insurance premiums, which was over 20% increase.
Yeah, I mean, and I just wanted to point that out because inflation's a true thing.
Yes.
We all know that.
Yes.
Like us personally are, buying a gallon of milk, or even toilet paper, or going in and getting gas. I mean, the grocery store alone.
Inflation impacts the school system as well. Things you mentioned, and even looking at what it costs to fill up the buses, all of that increased. But we wanted to make certain that even though there was an increase in inflation, well, the inflation costs impacted the school system, we wanted to make certain we remained true to our priorities and ensure people truly got a raise, and thanks to what the board's focus has been and will continue to be, we continue to remain competitive with salaries across the board.
So what you're basically saying is for your goal for next year, that's still a main goal.
Yes, ma'am.
Is to make sure that it's retaining that exceptional staff.
Retaining, attract, retain, train,
recruit,
exceptional.
all of
that. And, I know Mrs. Ruth, it's music to her ears. We want to make certain we make that human resources aspect of our work a priority for us in ensuring that we maintain highly exceptional staff to make a positive impact on our young people. But, continue to engage with stakeholders, internal and external stakeholders, and continue to hold those community priorities workshops to let folks know what Hampton City Schools is all about and the impact that we're making in the community as well in terms of ensuring that young people graduate the portrait of a Hampton graduate. Continue to implement the academies of Hampton from all aspects in this whole Master Plan 2.0 when we're focusing on creating these signature experiences for elementary, middle, and high school students so that they will build up to what it means to go into an academy and take on a pathway and then come out of that pathway with some type of industry credential prepared for life after high school. And we're going to continue to hold true to that mantra of one community, one transformation, excellence with intentionality. We're going to be intentional about the outcomes that we produce for our young people. We're going to be intentional about making certain that all of our schools remain fully accredited without conditions. We're going to be intentional about folks making certain that they choose Hampton City Schools and making certain that it is their first choice. And I can't say enough about making certain that we focus on the vision and mission of our school system as a whole, too.
So, can I give you one piece of advice?
Yes.
As you're wrapping up your first year as superintendent?
Let me finish my mission, though. That mission part I think is essential to the work that we do. It is essential to that partnership that we have with the city because it says in collaboration with our community, Hampton City Schools will ensure academic excellence for every child, every day, whatever it takes. And we're going to have to live by that mantra, and we're going to hold true to that as well.
What I was about to say is that was a lot of goals for the next school year. So if I can give you one piece of advice, I like what you learned from a mentor to take one day at a time. You're very passionate.
But I keep all of those things in mind as I go through each day.
Well, that's why you're the right person for the job.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's it. I'm not going to, I told you I've got several more, but I know that we are nearing the end. So I told you I wouldn't torture you too badly. Hopefully this will not be your next memorable moment. So I'll let you go ahead and wrap up, sir, your final podcast of the season.
I can breathe a sigh of relief now. You did not set me up like I thought you would, but I certainly thank you for putting me on the spot with those thought-provoking questions. To our listeners, remember, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Together as one community, one transformation, we are committed to ensuring academic excellence for every child, every day, whatever it takes. This summer, please take the opportunity to catch up on any episodes you may have missed. We'll be back next school year with brand new episodes of HCS Talks, featuring some entertaining and knowledgeable guests. Have a safe and relaxing summer.
Listen to learn more about Hampton City Schools. New episodes of HCS Talks drop on Thursdays. Subscribe and listen to HCS Talks. HCS Talks is a Hampton City Schools production.